Hi, my name is Gina Caison. I am a fellow at the Institute for Advanced Study at CEU here in Budapest. And this has been quite an interesting year, as many of you know. But it hasn't dampened our ability to think about our projects. And for me in particular, working on erosion in American literature, it's offered a chance to reflect and think about how, as humans, we live with our Earth. So my project is based in American literature, and it started when I realized that there was a connection between how humans tell stories about the Earth they're on and relationships between indigenous and settler communities in the US. Now, why should we care about something like a topic of erosion in American literature? And for me, this is something that becomes important when we think about some of our current crises of climate change. Erosion has gone on for thousands and thousands of years. It is indeed a natural process that's neither wholly positive nor negative. But it's interesting to think about how, when we approach new challenges, how have authors told the story of erosion in their text? And where do these concerns deal both in anxieties of the loss of the United States as a nation state, but where do they also encounter the ambivalence of that loss when we consider that the US is indeed a settler colonial entity that's had a number of less than ideal land practices in its history, and how have those in fact affected indigenous people? So to answer this question, I look at a number of authors from across the continent. Octavia Butler's work in California, John Steinbeck and other authors such as Lynn Riggs of the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma, as well as unexpected places like Margaret Mitchell's work Gone with the Wind set in Georgia, that actually has a fair amount of soil science in the book as she examines how plantation agriculture has profoundly damaged the land. It's not something we think of in that book, but it's there, because there is an anxiety in that book about the loss of white supremacy in the US South. So I constellate all of these questions to ask how humans tell stories about crises moments and what we can learn from how those moments are read and consumed, and what we can learn for the future as we face these new challenges. So when I've constellated these books, along with others, in terms of thinking about the broad sweep of American literature, one thing that has come forward and struck me is within Indigenous studies, we often talk about the idea of land back and the return of physical land to Indigenous communities. But what texts such as Monique Verdin and Lynn Riggs highlight is, how do Indigenous communities get land back if settler colonialism has caused the physical land to erode away? So while we often talk about this in terms of the metaphor of land title, what I've come to realize in this project and think about is, what do we do when the physical land is gone? How do you return something that has been destroyed to that point? And where do the stories we tell about this help us think about ways forward on the planet?